Hello, good evening and welcome to the LFC Daytrippers Midweek Fix. This show is brought to you in association with footballprizes.co.uk. This week's prize for anyone with a Liverpool interest is a signed and framed Jordan Henderson shirt. Tickets are available for £4.95. It's a great prize, a great website, you know, tickets limited to 99. Get on there, have a chance. You never know, you might be in with a chance of winning something. So I'm your host, Keith, tonight, and I'm joined by Jamie Holme. Jamie, how are you?
All good, mate. Well, I say that after United look like they've just got another scaldy 3 points. But other than that, mate, couldn't be better.
Don't worry about them and their spawny wins. Don't be worried about them. Too many people are losing sleep over them. There's plenty of time to go with this. Plenty of time for them to blow their mucking anyway and finishing about fourth. So I'm not worried yet. I'll caveat that way, yeah. I'm delighted to be joined by Joe Wainman from All Leeds TV. Joe, how are you?
Yeah, good, mate, good. I'm the same. I'm same as your man, Jamie. Yeah, we don't want Man United top of the league, do we? But yeah, I'm doing good, man.
It's a weird one, isn't it? It's really strange. We were just talking off air, and you know they're not a great team. They're Jamie. You were saying they remind you very much of old Liverpool, and you know it can't go on, can it?
I hope not. It just makes it harder for me because I'm from Liverpool, and there wasn't many Man United fans knocking about back home. And since I moved to Dublin, I'm surrounded by United fans, so it just makes everything 10 times worse. I'm in WhatsApp groups with Man United fans, and as soon as anything happens, my phone doesn't stop. But yeah, to look at the football side of things, like they've been spurred on by Bruno Fernandes. He's fantastic when he's allowed to play his own game. I kind of think of a little bit of a flat track bully in a way. Do you know what I mean? They're very good at disposing of the weaker sides if you allow them to play their game. I kind of look at United. I was watching tonight. Look, Burnley aren't great. They were defending resolute. But if Man United can break through that first line of the press, they break with such pace. Their front lads are a real danger. And if Fernandes can get on the half turn, or Pogba can get on the half turn and get away, look, they've got some talented players. What I would say, I don't think it's anything to do with the manager. I think they're being carried by individual talents and special moments or a little rub of the green, whether it's been penalties or whatever. They've just got that art of finding a way to get the results. I don't think, and I hope it's not sustainable over the course of the season.
Yeah, they are getting a lot of luck, you know. They're not having good performances, but at the end of the day, we went through last season getting wins when we needed to get wins. So. And I'm sure, Joe, you've seen that as well in the Championship. There was times when you just have to get over the line. So you'll take whatever you can get.
Yeah,
we're going to be joined by Matt Hayes now from the Tottenham Blog. Matt, how are you?
All good. How are you, lads?
Yeah, give us a thumbs up there. Good stuff, good stuff. Matt, we're only after kicking off. He said we'd hang around for you, give you as much. Yeah, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Sorry, my connection's a bit dodgy. Just open the laptop.
Good stuff, good stuff. So, right, folks, what we're going to do is we're going to have a little recap of the weekend's FA Cup glamour, magic, not so much, bit tragic for Joe, but we're going to look at a couple of, focusing on, you know, the Liverpool game, obviously from a Liverpool angle. We're going to look at Leeds' unfortunate defeat there to Crawley. And then we have Matt to talk about Spurs, but also we've a former Marine footballer on the panel tonight. I'll give you a clue. It's not me. Jamie is going to give you the lowdown on Marine and just what a game of that magnitude would mean to a club like that. We're going to then look at maybe the season's expectations for the teams going into the second half of the season, if we think there'll be any transfer business done for any of the clubs, and then look forward to any games that are coming up for the teams as well. So, look, the FA Cup, Joe, I'm going to start with you on this. I watched the game.
Get it out the way early, Joe.
Rip the plaster off. And look, anyone in the chat, throw your comments in, throw your chats in. You know me for hosting. I am absolutely brutal for putting the comments up on the screen, but I'll give it an extra special attention tonight. If you have that for the lads. But Joe, look, it was a shocker, wasn't it, at the weekend? How I watched the game, and it was one of them that I just thought Leeds are comfortable enough here. They didn't really look at the races, and I seen a bit of your watch along, and you weren't happy with the subs, right, at half time.
No. Do you know what we've obviously done it to a death on the channel now, and the Leeds fan base has. But I think it's the first time for me ever, really, since Bielsa's been in, that I've said he got it wrong. He obviously had these subs because Bielsa's so meticulous. He'll have had things worked out. They'll have worked on certain patterns. This is what we're going to do. We're going to get to half-time. We're going to bring in Jenkins, Casey, and Harrison. And he did that. And the game was 0-0. Had he have kept with that same 11 that we started, I think over the course of 90 minutes, we'd have probably had a little bit too much quality and won the game.
Yeah.
But what happened is he made the 3 subs at half-time, and that's where I think he got it wrong in that, look, I know you've already said I'm going to make these substitutions, but ultimately the game's 0-0. If the game was 2-0 at half-time, then yeah, fine, crack on, bring the young lads on. It just, obviously they came on, it was disjointed. Crawley got in front, and Crawley was good for it, man. Crawley really impressed me, to be fair. I like the kid Nichols up front. I thought he was brilliant on the day. And we were at the races, but this is Leeds United, mate. We have form for this. Histon, there's been loads over the years. Sutton, Newport, Sheffield United, back when they were down there. We have form for this. So if anyone was going to get knocked out, if anyone was going to be a cup upset, it was us. I was hoping that Spurs were going to lose to Marine, so it'd take the shine away. But then Spurs showed us how it's supposed to be done. You know what I mean? That's how you're supposed to deal with that sort of level of opposition. I know Marina are a bit further down than what Crawley were. And Crawley were in good form, but yeah, it wasn't acceptable, mate. It wasn't acceptable. Bielsa told us he was going to give it a bit of respect, and I don't think he really did, because he played like KP at centre-back and put Pascal Struijk in DM. But I think that's obviously KP's on a ban for accumulation of yellows. So I think he's going to play Pascal in the DM for Brighton. So he's obviously trying him there. Moving people around.
I think that's a very Bielsa thing, isn't it? That he'll foresee that and he'll make that move. Where it might, for the, if I'm looking at that, I'll be saying, well, why is he doing that? But as you said, Phillips has a ban coming up, so it's get strike in there. Kiko Casilla, Jesus Christ, the less you see of him, the better at this stage.
He's so bad, mate. Like, the thing is, he's one of the highest earners at the club as well. He's on like 40, 41, 42k, which I know seems pittance to what you guys are paying. But we brought him in the Championship. Obviously, he came with great pedigree. He's been in Champions League. But he's won Champions League. But let's be honest, he was the third choice keeper.
Yeah. They were very quick to say that, weren't they, on the thing, he's a Champions League winner, Yeah,
exactly. So, he's just not great. I mean, it could have been 4. It could have been 4. He came out for the kid Waters. I don't even think they played the full strength either. This kid Waters has got like 16 goals in 18 games. I think he's only 21. He's been on fire. He could have had 1. He could have had 4. He came sliding out. Like, he's obviously, I don't know if everyone knows this, he was done for racism as well when we were in the Championship. So a lot of the fan base wanted him gone anyway. Yeah, he stayed.
He's still there.
Yeah, exactly. Same. It's a strange one, and I don't think anyone's going to come pay for him. And Leeds are going to have to take a big hit if they do want to sell him in January. They're going to have to stump up for some of his wages and stuff. He's still got 2 years left on a deal, so unless Kiko has a burning desire to go back to Spain as quick as possible, he'd probably sit on that money, So
it's the dangerous thing, isn't it, with these big contracts when a player doesn't work out. And while some clubs can absorb it, like we see Manchester United bring in Alexis Sanchez, right? The knock-on effects of that have been huge, but they can absorb a player on an extortionate wage. Even Liverpool and Spurs, like 2 other clubs that were represented here, like we wouldn't be the biggest maybe payer. I know it sounds ridiculous. We have players that are on big money and all that, but the model isn't to waste your money on players like that. So it's a tough one. And it must have been a kick in the bollocks when you see Mark Roy of Towie coming on and getting a game against you. Like, that is really taking the piss, isn't it?
It was, mate. I was on the watch long and I said it after in my post match. I said that was the ultimate fucking the piss take, man. Come on. He wasn't getting no game if that game was in the balance. It was like he'd had his documentary crew, and I said, they'll put this documentary out, and the ending will be him coming on for like 3 minutes against Leeds United and be like, he's done it, man. He's and I was like, we're the butt of that joke forever, man. So yeah, it wasn't good, man. That.
Can I ask Joe, mate, just as a Leeds fan going into the season, and I suppose now obviously fresher with hindsight, what would have been your expectations for Leeds going into the season? Like, what would you have said would have been, you know, a fair goal to set yourselves? What would you have been happy with?
Do you know what it is, mate? I'm not the probably best Leeds United fan to ask, because I have like crazy aspirations. I still think
you were winning the league.
Well, not so much, but I thought we'd get Europe. I'm still of the thinking that we just might miss out on Europe this season. I genuinely believe that over the course of the season. Obviously, ultimately, you just want to stay in the division. Of course, being away 16 years, but I knew under Bielsa that we were gonna do bits in the division, because the style of play is actually better suited to the Premier League than it is the Championship, which is a bit mad, really, but it is. You know, we're given space, and you know, we have a not so much more time on the ball, but a lot more space in which to do our bits. Like in the Championship, sometimes it was, you know, attack v defence, trying to break down a stubborn Luton side, for example, who basically put 10 men in the box. You know what I mean? So it was always going to be better for us. I think the frustrating thing I found of late is that it's just coming up against the top 6 sides. Like, we started so well against Liverpool. Obviously, we drew with City. What a great game of football. But then, obviously, Man United and Tottenham's happened. And I think it's a bit of a running thing now that people expect us to get spanked by top 6 sides all the time, which we quickly need to get over that. Do you know what I mean? Because it has been a little bit frustrating. And I guess the way the media have latched onto Leeds as well, we're now... Like, even after we got beat by Crawley, everyone was on social media saying, yeah, but they played really great. So big shout out Bielsa, because we keep getting this like lauded from the media, which is a little bit frustrating. So, but yeah, sorry, long answer to your question. I thought we'd do all right. Genuinely, I do. And I don't think maybe missing out on Europe just is a bit, but I think we'll be in, 10th, 11th, 12th, around where we are now. I think it's a good season for Leeds United.
That's what I was going to say. That is a good season, isn't it? I mean, you get up, if you can stay away from any relegation dogfight. And look, I've spoke to you before, Joe. I think you'll do well. I think you'll beat the teams that you have to beat. Or Crawley wasn't the one, but we know there was changes made to that. You'll probably get hopped off in some big games, you know, as you have been. But once you take care of the other business, I think you should be fine. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But we'll come on to...
You know the difficult thing, Keith, just to finish, I think with Bielsa, he has a very definitive way of playing. And he has preached this to his team every waking day that they're in training, during games, telling them not to panic, even when every urge of them as being, young players, if you're in trouble, you kick it long, you know what I mean? You play percentages. He wants them to play. If the first sign of trouble or a specific opposition, he says, actually, I'm going to abandon everything that I've taught you, and we're going to try and shut up shop today. Footballers, their heads would melt. It would be like, well, hold on, what's this body of work all been about? If you're just at the first sign of trouble going to abandon it, so I think you'll come unstuck in some games, but that's just the nature of the beast with the way that you play. You know what I mean? I think if he started trying to be more pragmatic, I think it would cause more problems in the long run for him and the team.
I mean, that's great. That's it is to hear, though, Keith. Do you know what I mean? I'm sick of people saying like, "Oh, he needs to change his style. He needs to do this. He needs to drop." It's BS, because look, like people were talking about, like, look at Sam Allardyce, West Brom, for example. That's the opposite end of the spectrum, innit? Oh wow, yeah, they got a point against Liverpool. Since then, what have they done? Conceded about 15 goals, scoring about 2. 5 of them against Leeds United. So give me my spanking against, as painful as it was against them across the Pennines, as painful as it was, but I said the same to Matt. We spoke to Matt on our channel. The way we play is perfectly suited to Tottenham and Man United. It's perfect for them, and they have a better quality of player. So, like you just said, these things are going to happen, but you know, we'll, like you said, Keith, we'll do all right against the teams that are below us. And I think the thing that progresses Leeds United, and I've said it many times, it's not the style, it's better personnel that make less errors, that have better positional sense, that create better chances, that are more clinical. That's what makes Leeds United better.
Yeah,
and I made a similar. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
I made a similar point to Joe there about West Brom. Like it's the same fans who are constantly criticising Burnley, West Brom, and teams like that for playing dead football by sitting 10 men behind the ball are the same fans who are coming out now and look, the word is abusing Bielsa for the way he's playing football. And just because the team he's managing isn't as good as the likes of Liverpool and Man City, that doesn't mean he shouldn't play the same football as that, because ultimately that's the football we want to see. You know, I think Joe might disagree with it, but I'd rather watch Leeds go out and beat or like lose 3-0 to another mid-table team than watch like the likes of Liverpool and Man United. You know, if the game coming up on Sunday, that's usually a tactical 0-0. I'd rather watch a more exciting game, and it's not Bielsa's fault that he's getting the criticism for this. You know, people are saying, it's not his fault he's getting the praise for. Like the media are building it up, saying, "Oh, fair play to Bielsa, give him all this credit." He hasn't asked for that. All he's doing is going out and playing football the way he wants to play. And on the point about Leeds going out and accepting these drubbings at the hands of Man United and Spurs, a lot of people know it's always a kind of philosophical debate. Almost like is the best manager the one who can play his own style of football and beat whoever he comes up against, or is it the one who can adapt his game depending on who he's playing against? And you're going to find managers who are the best in the world at either side of that spectrum. And I'm not saying Bielsa is among the best managers in the world, but I think his record speaks for itself. And the managers
I'll put in there, Matt, because I'll say he's one of the best managers in the world. I think Bielsa is one of the best managers of all time. I think he's an absolute innovator. I love Bielsa. Sorry for cutting across you there, but you're dead right in what you say. You know, there's managers out there that will stick to it. Now, Pep Guardiola is one when he was at Barcelona and they were all conquering, and people used to ask him, you know, oh, what about a plan B? He didn't have a plan B, he had a plan A. Marcelo Bielsa has a plan A. Jurgen Klopp doesn't have a plan B. Sam Allardyce, you know, has his own plan. They all do. And from a Liverpool perspective, we saw, maybe Jamie be more familiar with this as well, we saw when Brendan Rodgers was at Liverpool, he was week on week, he was changing formations. He was trying to grab a system that would work for him. You know, he was throwing players all over the place. And that's a bit more, you know, when you have that, the uncertainty around that's a bit more scattery than having the plan A and no plan B. Do you know what I mean?
I think with Rodgers, it was a unique one because we had a very poor defence. So at the time, I think the back four was John Flanagan, Ali Sissoko, Martin Skrtel, and Mamadou Sakho, and we're going toe to toe with Manchester City. So I think Rodgers was just trying to tweak the team to try and give himself enough protection and try and get Sterling, Suarez, Sturridge all on the team, and he eventually landed on Gerrard, I think, playing just in front of the back four with Henderson doing his donkey work, and it very nearly paid off.
We had Jan playing in a back three. We had Markovic playing as a right wing back, you know, a left wing back Sterling. It was just a bit mad. So yeah, you're right what you're saying, Matt. Sometimes people cry for these, you know, some managers can be tactically flexible and others are more rigid and stick to their way, and that's what it is. But look, Joe, it was a bad result for you. No getting away from that. A bit of stick in the chat there for you, but I know you're a big boy. You can take that sort of stuff. You know, you're on here all the time. You take the rough for the smooth. That's fair enough. We'll move on now to the Spurs and Marine game. Now, Matt, I'll come to you. Mm-hmm. A good PR win, I'd say, for Spurs at the weekend. Before we even got on to the football, wasn't it? Did they come out looking well out of that?
Yeah, I think, look, Jose Mourinho is known as not one of the nicest people in football, but when it comes to things like this, he's fantastic, and he did a lot for Mourinho, given the, you know, was it Liverpool got stick for swapping jerseys with the Villa under 23 side, and Jose didn't want the same for Spurs, and he brought along jerseys that weren't worn by the team, and I think the fans as well have been fantastic for Mourinho. There was like something like over 30,000 virtual match tickets sold, and I know a lot of those. Yeah, like that's at a tenner a piece. That's a lot of money for Marine. And look, it's not the first time Spurs have done it. We had our EFL Cup game called off against Leyton Orient earlier in the season, and for that there was supposed to be a fundraiser for the Justin Edinburgh Foundation. A former Spurs player died of a heart attack last year, and the Spurs fans came together and raised a lot of money for them as well. So it's another chance for us to help out a team who are probably affected a bit more financially by the recent pandemic.
Yeah, you're spot on. I mentioned that on our show the other night, like that Mourinho is an absolute shithouse when it comes to football. But when it comes to things like that, I think he is very good. I think he's well clued in on that sort of thing. He knows teams are struggling. He knows, you know, teams can go to the wall. Most managers do. I mean, look, we're lucky at Liverpool. Klopp is very socially aware as well. He has a different persona than Mourinho. But it was nice to see because, as you say, the jerseys, Liverpool got stick for Villa, swapping with Villa kids. You know, the kids were dying to get the jerseys. So Spurs got around that and they got a nice PR win. Jamie, an ex-Marine player, how did you feel looking at that game? Like the build up to it, the excitement, I suppose, around it, because it was a big toy, you know, it was a big toy for the FA Cup tour, probably the biggest game of the round. How did, as an ex-player,
it was amazing to be honest to watch it. It was strange as well, you know, when you've made the walk into the pitch a load of times, and then all of a sudden there's Gary Lineker and Ian Wright stood by the side of the pitch. It was strange, fantastic, because I have to say, I mean, I played non-league for a good few years, and it was a good weekend overall, because I used to play for Chorley as well. So Chorley and Marine, both clubs have gone far beyond their expectations in this year's cup. And what I would say, you know, for the semi-professional clubs, we used to pretty much shape our whole season around a cup run. So you're looking at roughly 7 or 8 games to get into the first to third round proper, depending on what league you're in. And you know, at one of my old clubs, Warrington Town, a couple of years ago, I think they beat Exeter at Warrington Town. I think they won, I think it was 200,000 roughly from getting to the first or second round. And what they were able to do, renovate the stadium, play the players' wages for a couple of years, build an Astro at the side of the. So this is basically going to make the club sustainable now for, you know, the next 5, 6, 7 years from a wage perspective. It just takes the pressure off. It probably means that they can go out and acquire better players, which means that they'll be able to move up the football pyramid. And, you know, you've got to remember, these lads are working full-time jobs. That was one of the things I don't think people realize. You know, I could have been working during the day, then I've got to travel, because you're traveling all over the country. You're traveling to, let's say, Newcastle on a Tuesday night. Let's say you get thumped 5-0. You're getting home at 3 o'clock in the morning. You've got to be up at 7 for work the next day. You know, it's a tough ask, not only for the players, for the staff. The clubs don't exist if it wasn't for the helpers. You know, to see some familiar faces getting in front of the camera and have their day in the spotlight, because a lot of the time for the helpers of the club, it's a thankless task. They're probably not getting paid. But what I would say, you know, for a club like Marine, it's a community club. I think a lot of fans are probably becoming a little bit. The gap has never felt wider between Premier League clubs and their fans and their players. And a lot of fans are getting turned off. It's becoming very corporate. It feels more of a product now, and the players feel like a product. Whereas with clubs like Marine, you can go in, have a pint, get some food, chat to the players in the bar after, and there's this unbelievable sense of community. So for me, it was just absolutely thrilled to see so many good people with smiles on their faces, and know that club now is going to be protected for the next 10, 15 years. It's fantastic to see. Dare I say, does it mean the magic of a cup still exists a little bit? Because it seems to have been dying off over recent years.
But you know, you're spot on. Laura Duffy says, so the key to a good cup run for non-league is to have had Jamie playing for them. She could be onto something there. That could be it. Jamie's list of Jamie's CV might come to.
But these have all done well since I left, Laura. So I think that's
you laid the foundations. You laid the foundations. But you know what, that's the side of it, isn't it? That people maybe don't understand, and that's why I'm glad you were on tonight, Jamie, to give that insight to playing for a non-league team. You know, as Matt said, Spurs gave, you know, they helped to sell 30,600 I think tickets, virtual tickets for that game. That's huge for a club like Marine. That's setting them up lovely now for a few years once they invest it wisely and don't squander it. But it's hard to do that in this, you know, you take COVID and all in, you're not getting, you know, I don't know, I'm sure the non-league aren't getting bodies in. So it's a big,
big thing that I noticed in the game when you actually watch it as well. I thought, I wonder how long they can hold out. Yeah. And, you know, first 10, 15 minutes, they're chasing shadows. And what you start to realize, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some top players in non-league. They're big, they're horrible, they're strong, and they can all really play. But the higher you go up, it's the speed of thought. Spurs just do everything first time. It's round the corner. They're picking up pockets. And then Marine had been chasing shadows for that long. As soon as they got hold of the ball, they had nothing in the tank. They had no options. It went straight back to Spurs. And that's where the difference was made. I thought Dele Alli had a good game. It's what's going on with Dele Alli and Mourinho now? Have they kind of patched up everything? Because he was on fire and he just seems to have drifted again.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It just seems to be Ali just seems to be the kind of character that Jose Mourinho doesn't want kind of in the squad. And there's the famous line from Mourinho when he first came in. He was kind of talking to Dele Alli in training, And Ali's form has been abysmal for the last couple of years. And Jose went up to him. He said, "Are you Dele Alli, or are you Dele Alli's brother?" And it seemed to kind of stoke that fire inside Dele Alli. And he came out in the first couple of games in the Mourinho era, and he was back to his best. But it seems to have slowly faded away since then. And we saw in the Amazon documentary Mourinho kind of criticizing Ali for his attitude and his application and training. And it just seems like there's something there that isn't quite right. And look, it does come down to the fact that we're playing a very different system now to what we were playing under Pochettino, and the position that Ali thrived in, being that kind of false 9 or almost a number 10 behind the striker, that position isn't really there at the moment, because the player picking up those spaces is Harry Kane, the striker himself. So it's a very different system to what we're playing in now. And I think if Ali wants to get into this team, he needs to start working a lot harder, and he needs to kind of turn himself into a more, not a deep line, but a more central midfielder, if that makes sense. Yeah. And he seems to have a reluctance to do so, which is costing him. But I think his performances lately have been a lot better. I know it was only Marine, but he played some fantastic passes in that game. He was extremely influential, and some kind of cameo roles he's played in the league and Europa League, he has been looking better, but Mourinho just doesn't like him for some reason.
It's mad how a manager can have that impact, maybe indirectly on a player. Spurs bring in a manager, so Spurs have Pochettino there, and Pochettino's, nurturing Dele Alli and bringing them along, and then you get Mourinho in, and straight away you can look at it. Who's Mourinho going to like and who's Mourinho not going to like? And Dele Alli is way up on the list of players you just knew he wasn't going to have a bar of, because he doesn't work hard enough. You're right, Matt. He needs to transform, but he's no Moussa Sissoko. He's no
Højbjerg is the most Jose Mourinho player ever.
He is. Typical.
What I mean? And Ali is just he's between a rock and a hard place now, because Matt, you touched on it there. Who's dropping into the 10 now? It's Harry Kane. He's playing more of a 4-3-3 these days than the 4-2-3-1, which probably suits Dele Alli a bit more. But it was a strong enough Spurs team, Obviously, it wasn't full strength or anything like that. But Joe Hart's in goal, Ben Davis, Joe Rodon, Toby Alderweireld, Matt Doherty, Sissoko, Harvey White, young lad, don't know him. Dele Alli there in front of him, Jedson Fernandez, Lucas Moura, and Carlos Vinicius. It was a good strong team by Spurs with a smattering of young players, but they're weird in the sense, like Jedson is on a 2-year loan there. Jedson Fernandez, that's a waste of everyone's time, isn't it?
Jedson Fernandez is quite possibly the worst player I've ever seen in the Spurs jersey. He's absolutely dreadful, and like it amazes me that it was last January we brought him in on an 18-month loan deal, and there's an option to buy him this summer for £55 million. And it's so concerning that someone in that Tottenham scouting team looked at him and thought maybe in a year and a half he'd be worth over £50 million. It's crazy, but I think it was such a clever lineup from Jose Mourinho, because I think, like Joe touched, that Spurs kind of showed how it's done against the smaller teams like that. And there was experience in that team. There was kind of or fringe players that haven't been getting as much game time in the league, and there was youth players. And I think he picked those youth players absolutely fantastically. Harvey White, you said, started the game. He's a player who he's played for us in the last 2, maybe 3 preseason tournaments. And when he's in there, he looks really, really good. He's one of the best players we have on our youth side. He's a dead ball specialist. And I think he couldn't have played better on Sunday. He was getting stuck in from the first minute. He was getting on the ball. He was looking confident. He was playing a forward. And what impressed me most was there's a few times when the Marine players absolutely clattered him, and he did not complain. He didn't roll around. He didn't do a Neymar. He got back up on his feet.
I was good at that back in the day. That's all we have.
But yeah, White was fantastic. And another player who came off the bench, Alfie Devine, what a moment it was for him becoming Spurs'. Yeah, he was becoming Spurs' youngest ever goal scorer. I think he's just 16 and a half. Yeah. But even aside from that, his all-round play, he was fantastic. Again, getting on the ball, looking confident. And I don't know if you saw the quote from Jose Mourinho today, but he was asked, did Alfie Devine, has he had a smile on his face all week? And Jose said he doesn't know, because he sent him back to the academy where he belongs. He said, when you reach a career high like that, you need to be brought back down to earth, essentially. He said we won't see him for 3 weeks. He'll be working where he needs to be. But very clever lineup from Jose, and even the subs he made as well. I think that the bench was extremely strong. We had Davinson Sanchez, Sergio Reguilon, Tanguy Ndombele, Gareth Bale, Heung-min Son. So if on the off chance things did go wrong, we had a lot of personnel there to bring in.
Yeah, exactly. It was a good. Like I say, it was a good turnout for everybody. I think that game, it nearly. Marine were never going to win it. They got a good dropsy for the game, and when they probably thought they wouldn't have. And Spurs got games for their fringe players. Now Carlos Vinicius got a hat trick. Mm-hmm. What do you make of him as a player to back up sort of Kane as the main striker? Have you been impressed? He's on loan as well, is he?
Yeah,
is he on loan?
He's on loan from Benfica as well, actually. It's an 18-month loan deal. We have the option to buy him, I think it's for about £40 million. I think it's next summer. So Spurs have done that quite a bit recently in getting these loan deals with options to buy, but he's certainly on the very opposite end of the spectrum to Jetson Fernandez. He's struggled at game time, which I'm quite confused about, because the only Premier League game he's played in so far, he came on in the last 10 minutes against West Brom. And although he didn't directly influence anything, he was, go back to even Dele Alli, when he played with Harry Kane, it was Harry Kane making the move, dragging the defenders away, and Ali making that late run. And Vinicius was able to take up that role. He dragged defenders away, and it was ultimately a Harry Kane header that won that game for us. In the Europa League, he's been fantastic as well. He's had a goal involvement every single time he started for Spurs. He has, I think, 3 goals, 3 assists in the Europa League. And of course, you can say it was only Marine, but he took his chances superbly. On Sunday, I thought that third goal, especially on his left foot, looping into the far top corner, it was a fantastic one from him, and he's one that I hope we will see in the Premier League a bit more in the coming months as the fixtures get more and more congested, as we're going to be probably playing stronger squads in the Europa League and as the FA Cup progresses as well. He's a very exciting player, and I think in terms of players that we could get in to back up Harry Kane, there's always going to be that feeling of players coming in knowing they're not going to be the first choice striker, but he's someone who's really grafted throughout his career, and this was a fantastic opportunity for him to become a Premier League player, and that loan with the option to buy gives him a chance to prove himself. And I think it's a very clever way and a very clever player to identify to be that man who will probably be willing to be second fiddle to Kane.
Yeah, I've just checked. He's 25. I thought he was only a young lad. Like he's not even a young fella. He's been at Napoli and then only went to Benfica there in summer of 19. So he seemed to have gone under the radar quite a bit. But look, he's landed at Spurs, and it looks like a clever bit of business for you. But as we said, it's sort of the opposite end of Joe's FA Cup experience. It's a good one for you. It's a horrible one for Joe. Jamie, before we move on, we'll quickly talk about Liverpool. I mean, one of the other big moments for me that you touched on, the magic of the cup being back. There's 2 games that show that it was there. The Aston, I don't want to overdo it and all, but the Aston Villa goal against Liverpool was a similar feeling for me as well. In the sense that, looking back, I enjoyed that as well. Seeing the unbridled sort of joy that kid and his mates, the whole team got. It wasn't like even just a young fella in the team and he done well and he was with the senior pros and didn't know what to do. It was a gang of them. It was just a gang of kids celebrating. It did show that there is still that magic and that bit of passion that's in there in a time when we probably need to see things like that.
Do you know what? I think fans nowadays, they're in such a rush to be offended or outraged by something that's happened during a football match. Poor performances now seem to be the end of the world. Like this isn't anything new. And Liverpool fans, were so up in arms about the first half performance and it was an embarrassment. Look, Liverpool were always going to win that game.
Yeah.
An Aston Villa young lad has just scored a goal that he will remember, his family will remember for the rest of his life. How can you not be a football fan and smile at that celebration and the interview after the game? Like, I'm a Liverpool fan and I probably enjoyed that more than I did the Liverpool goals because look, it's brilliant. That's, it's a magical moment. And to be fair, look, Liverpool weren't great first half. Sometimes it can be difficult when you play games where you're expected to win.
Yeah.
They kept the ball very well. Aston Villa defended for their lives, but their legs were always going to fall off at 60 minutes. I think football fans forget sometimes it's a 90-minute game of football. Liverpool could have been a couple more goals up. Delighted for Villa that they got that goal. What a moment. But then Liverpool went into cruise control. A couple of key changes second half. Shaqiri and THIAGO gave us that creativity centrally. And it became very difficult then for the young lads to cope. But no, all in all, I think there's been a few occasions over the course of the FA Cup weekend where, yeah, it does seem a little bit, everything's so centered around money and the Champions League now that the domestic cups have taken a back seat. But it was just good to see a couple of moments of magic across a few of the games.
Yeah, very true, very true. Look, we'll move away. Well, do you know what? We won't move away from the cup. Man United away, we got in the bleeding next round. That's a bit of a stinker for Liverpool, Jamie, isn't it? I mean, not that I've any fear of Man United. I'll put that out there now. I give them a bit of stick on these shows and all that. I don't particularly fear them. They could beat us. Who knows? The point is, it's another poxy Premier League cup draw that Liverpool get when we don't have a chance to blood in these youngsters, which we probably will play young lads, but you play young lads, we get punished. You could deal with a lower league draw, you know what I mean? It's
a couple of handy draws like City. I think that's the thing that annoyed me more is I always knew that Liverpool were going to get a Premier League club because it just seems par for the course at this stage. But the draws that City have had, I'd say you've probably all seen the WhatsApp that was shared of the run of fixtures that City have had in domestic cup competitions over the last couple of years. Like, it's unbelievable. But look, they're able to pocket all these domestic trophies and make it seem like they've created this dynasty of success. I'd love a couple of those handy runs. Look, it'd be a great game.
Albion in the semi-final and all that sort of shit.
I think the best team they played was Watford, and that was in the final where they won 6-0. So look, I don't want to seem like I'm a bitter fan, so I'm going to sidestep City. But what I would say, I think that, look, whenever Liverpool play Manchester United, it's going to be spicy. It'll be a fantastic occasion. I'd say it'd be interesting to see what team Klopp goes with, given how close the two games are. I think we play United, then there's in the league, then there's Burnley, then United in the FA Cup. So it'd be interesting. My gut would be he would go quite strong, but not full strength. Klopp doesn't give a bollocks about the FA Cup. It doesn't matter how you slice and dice it. He just doesn't care. It's not important to him. And when our squad, or certain areas of our squad, are kind of threadbare as it is, I don't think he'll take too many unnecessary risks. So yeah, it'd be good to see. But for me, it all rests on the league game. That's the big one.
Can I just ask, mate, or both of you, really, why didn't he change it on Friday? Why didn't he put Origi? Like, I get it, right? Oh, he's already set up his team to play the Aston Villa first team. But on the bench, he had Origi, he had Shaqiri, some others, right? That surely would have known what their jobs were at the last minute to say, look, we're playing a bunch of kids. We'll be all right over 90 minutes, like Jamie said. So you just go in there. This is what I know. I come on the Trippers all the time, and I'm only honest with my opinion. It's really grinded my goat a little bit, because all Klopp's done all season is moan about these substitutions, whether you agree or disagree with him, wherever you land. But now, for me, Klopp cannot be saying in a couple of weeks' time, we need more substitutions, because that was the perfect game to put in kids or even put fringe players in, and he didn't do none of it. I didn't understand it.
My thinking on it was probably that he was trying to, as we said, prepare for the game. He thought he was going to play the Villa first team. We've had some stinking results against Villa in the last couple of years, with the 7-2 there at Villa Park, and the fact that we got screwed last year in the League Cup when we were playing in the World Club Championship, and they still made us put a team out. I think he wanted to go there and get results. We had the team out, but you're right, they get news that the game is in doubt. I think the plan was basically get up to a lead and then make 5 changes. Get them off, get the big players off early. But it didn't go that way. Didn't go. We went in at 1-1, and I'd say he's put a fucking rocket up to my half-time, because you could see the improvement in Liverpool in the second half. And that's what we think.
Do you know what I think it is? And I can understand where you're coming from, Joe. I think Klopp will always do what he thinks is best for Liverpool Football Club, and he's been very vocal about the extra subs and the demand put on players, and I think he's been vindicated in some ways, because there's been such an increase in muscular injuries across the board in the Premier League. I think this game was a strange one, and I think it's purely based on timing. One, with the way that these games have felt, there's actually been quite a break in between the games. So a lot of the players didn't have a lot of rhythm in their legs. I think there's 9 days between the Villa game and United, which is arguably our biggest game of the season. He needed to get minutes in the legs. And to be honest, we've not been great, mate. The last couple of weeks, the forwards haven't been clicking. There's been no rhythm between them at all. We've not been creating a lot of chances. So for me, I think he's probably looked at it. The game's been a victim of circumstance. And he said, you know what? I'm going to get a lot of my good players on who are probably a little bit short of form. Mane hasn't been at his best this season. He got a couple of goals. Salah got a goal. THIAGO and Shaqiri were able to come on and influence the game and create centrally, which we've not been doing for weeks. Anyone that's watched Liverpool over the last few weeks has noticed we're getting funneled wide by a lot of teams. Trent's not been at it. We've been firing hopeless crosses into the box and not really creating. So for us then to be able to come out second half and start doing the things that has made Liverpool what we are, which is short, intricate passes in and around the central area of the box, clever turns. It was worth it for me. He'll always open himself up for criticism because he's been so outspoken across a number of topics. And I can understand it, but at the same time, I think he just did what was right for Liverpool in the lead up to this big game against United.
A key thing there, Jamie, I think you've touched on is the amount of rest between that game and the United game. And as we've seen, we had 8 days before the West Brom show. Was it before West Brom?
Yeah.
And we stunk it out. Do you know what I mean? Liverpool and Klopp's team would think it very rhythm. They'd rather have games coming than long rests. Obviously, you can do it rests, but I think now he'd rather 5 days between a game, ideally, rather than 8 or 9 or 6, rather than 8 or 9. That way. So I think he's probably made a point on that. And look, we don't know. I understand where you're coming from, Joe, and I think people are getting a bit pissed off or moaning about the thing. But if he doesn't moan, what'll happen? You know what I mean? You have to moan.
Yeah, no, I get this. If it's Bielsa, I'm backing him to the hill. I get it.
Exactly. It's like the penalty thing.
Advocate,
It's like the penalty thing with Man United. He's doing that in the week before the United Liverpool game. I don't think
he was the master of that, Keith. He's just trying to influence referees.
Exactly.
And to be honest, United tonight had a couple of half shouts for penalties, which they may have got in the past, and they didn't get them tonight. So if him speaking out about something like this influences one penalty decision or one shout, it's worth it,
Exactly. It'd be strange to see. Matt, who have you got in the next round?
We got Wickham away. We got Wickham away, and then if we win that, we have either Everton or Sheffield Wednesday. And look, it's a tough one. They nearly beat us at White Hart Lane a couple of years ago. We needed I think it was a 90th minute equaliser and a 98th minute winner to actually beat them at White Hart Lane.
Who got the goal? Alan Mullery. Will you stop? Wickham, this is the sort of stuff that we want. These are the draws that Liverpool want to get.
Can I just say, I have a good stat here. I know Joe knows I love stats. Liverpool, since Jurgen Klopp took over, they've been involved in 26 domestic cup draws, and 17 of those draws have got Premier League sides. And the last time Liverpool beat Man United away in the FA Cup was 100 years ago today.
Yeah, it's a madness, isn't it?
Wow.
Insane that
full of confidence going into that game now. Thanks for that, mate.
You know what, right? The Liverpool thing with me, the confidence all stems from one thing. If we have Joel Matip playing in these games, I'm not worried. If we don't have Joel Matip playing and we have to rely on either Jordan Henderson going to centre back or one of the young lads, I think that's where we're in trouble. But look, we'll just have to wait and see. Joe, who did you get in the next round? Oh no, sorry.
Well done, Keith. Well done.
Scratch that off me. Scratch that off me.
Just concentrating on league, mate. Now that's all.
That's it. That's what it's all about. But that is what it's all about at the end of the day. I've no time for domestic cups. I think they're a waste of time. I used to enjoy the day out in the pub watching them, but now we can't even do that, so they can go and fuck off for all I care. Transfer news. We won't spend too much time. Joe, I spoke to you before we came on. Leeds gonna do anything?
Nah, mate, we won't. They're not a fan of the January window or Bielsa. I think they've got enough. I know I shouldn't count my chickens before they've hatched, but I think we'll be all right this season. I don't think you'll need anywhere close to 40 points. I think maybe 3, 4, 5 wins will be sound. So I don't think I would like us to, as a fan. Naturally, everyone does, I think, but I just don't think we'll get much done that. Yeah,
even out the door, like you said, Casilla, it'd be nice to get rid of him, but it's not likely to happen. And you seem to be focusing a lot on young players there at Leeds. That's always always a good avenue. Is there
Yeah, we brought in young kid Sam Greenwood in the summer. There's another lad as well we brought in from Ajax, Crescencio Somerville.
The winger, is he?
Yeah, he's special. Looks really good, but because this season we stepped up our academy status to Premier League 2, so that's what they're looking at is fleshing all that stuff out. So we got that conveyor belt of talent coming through, and that's what Bielsa likes as well, So yeah, I don't think we'll do much business. It'll be summer for us, mate. New left back, new midfielder to help shoulder the burden with Click. They're the main things for me.
Good stuff. Yeah. And Matt, do you expect Spurs to do anything in this window? I know I've seen links with Sabitzer are there at RB Leipzig, and so I've seen another link of a forward. And what are you hearing? Do you think there'll be anything done or?
There'll be absolutely nothing done. Spurs are we're in a weird sort of situation now where we can't buy players unless we sell players, but we can't sell players because we have too many injured players. So it's the most unfortunate paradox there. I think the phrase of Tottenham's window so far has been interest but nothing advanced. I had Fabrizio Romano on my own channel there last week, and it's the only thing that seemed to be coming out of his mouth was there's interest but there's nothing advanced, and it's upsetting for Spurs because we do need to invest at the moment. I think we do need an attacking midfielder, and Sabitzer would be the perfect man. We're being linked with Nicolas Gonzalez, a winger from Stuttgart.
Argentina.
Yeah, Jose Mourinho was asked about him today, and he just said, I haven't heard anything about him. Julian Araujo, a right back for LA Galaxy, will be linked as well, but there's nothing major. I think Sabitzer, if we're going to get him, we'll probably wait till the summer. And there's been a lot of talk about centre backs, Sergio Ramos, Milan Skriniar, and even Sven Botman's name has cropped up a bit. But if Spurs do any business in terms of incomings or outgoings this January, I'd be very surprised.
Yeah, I think it's going to be quite all round. Jamie, from a Liverpool point of view, can you see anything getting done? Do you see it's bringing in a centre back, or do you think it's not going to happen?
I bloody hope so. Yeah, head and heart. Like, I've been quite vocal on this. I've never really panicked in the past with Liverpool's transfer strategy. I think the club operates in such a smooth way now. You know, we operate 2 or 3 windows ahead. That said, everything about this window, I just can't think that Liverpool would be negligent enough to not bring in a centre-back given the circumstances that we now face because of the injuries. What I would say is what makes it more challenging, Liverpool will not bring in a stopgap. I can't see it. It's not the way we do business. So they will probably look for a young, talented player who will go on to become a key player for us in some way, shape or form, get a lot of games under his belt, and will retain or grow their resale value. That's going to be the big thing, because FSG aren't going to just abandon their transfer strategy in situations like that, whether we like it or not. I personally, as a fan, think it would be a huge mistake not to bring in a centre-back. Look, we'll be able to look back at the end of the season and say ultimately whether it is the right or wrong thing to do. But if you're telling me that we're to rely on Joel Matip for the best part of half a season, he's not going to be able to do it. Joel Matip can come in and do 5-6 games and be an absolute world beater. He's one of the best defenders in the league. I honestly believe that when fit, but his body is not built for the demands of the Premier League. So what in essence you're going to happen is, if we don't bring in a centre-back, he's going to be in for a handful of games, in and out. Then you're going to be relying on Williams or Phillips, who I've said to you, in the WhatsApp group, Keith, they can come in and like they did against Spurs. I thought Williams on the whole was excellent. They can come in and put in individual performances and get through games. But if you're asking them to produce over blocks of games, it's a massive ask for them. So for me, we've got to go into the market and bring a body in. And I just don't want to see Jordan Henderson going back into centre back. I was vocal in the thought that I think he has the attributes to do that position. What it does show though is when he doesn't play in midfield, I don't think Trent is as effective. Henderson covers a lot of the space in behind Trent to allow him to go and attack. Same with Salah. He is such a crucial cog on that right-hand side from a defensive standpoint, but also creating a bit of momentum, pressing, just a bit of intensity in the midfield. We don't look the same team without him. And what you're now starting to see is with Fabinho dropping to centre-back and Henderson not being able to do his natural job, Liverpool aren't functioning the same. So for me, we've got to prioritise getting a centre-back in by hook or by crook, and at least then you can build your midfield around THIAGO and Henderson and have a good go at the league in the second half of the season.
It's mad because the links to centre-backs they're coming out and they're being shot down as soon as they're coming. So like we started off, Sven Botman was linked, David Carmo off Braga, and then other names have been coming and going. So the dream ticket, I think, is like Per Shores. They linked with Upamecano. A lot of people think he's a bag of shit in any way, and that he's not much use. But we're not going to be able to sign Upamecano where it was playing Leipzig. Now, I know their CEO's coming out saying, he's available for the right price, and Chelsea are now sniffing around them. It's hard to get the player you want. They have a list of players, and they're not going to get that player in January. So the scale then has gone from, Per Shores, Upamecano, Ibrahima Konate, that standard. Milan Skriniar has been linked. There's been a lot of them. Then you're dropping down, and we're now being linked with guys like Jordan Torunariga at Hertha Berlin, Loic, what's the other fella's name? Loic Bade at Lens. Young guys that are, the next Upamecano and the next Konate. We seem to be looking at France as Germany, France, for that next centre back, instead of not even going for the one that's about to take the jump, the one that's about to take the next move
It's
before the jumping out.
Moneyball, though. It's Moneyball again, Keith.
Moneyball.
It's Michael Edwards is pulling out his laptop and his data, and he's able to cherry pick these players. And I'd have no doubt that they would go on to be a success, or as I said before, we'd be able to sell them at a good fee. I think the big thing is, the reason that we've been able to get the likes of THIAGO in and Jota in this current climate, and you're hearing this a lot now with clubs, they don't have cash flow to go out and spend a lot of money on players. They just don't. So the reason we were able to bring in a Jota or a THIAGO was, there was very small upfront payments, and it's basically it's going to be installments across a 5-year period or the tenure of their contract. So not only are we operating in a difficult market as it is, then we're going to have to go to teams and say, well, actually, we're not able to take away one of your prize assets and give you the money that you deserve. We're asking to pay 5-10 million up front and then run the rest over the installments at the length of its contract. There's so much complexity. I fear that it could make it very difficult to bring somebody in, but I just don't think, because in my honest opinion, and I'm not just saying this with red tinted glasses on, I personally think it's between Liverpool and City. I think it'll be on a knife edge. I think Liverpool have allowed City to come back into it now. If Liverpool don't buy a centre-back, I think it's going to be an uphill battle. I think if we bring in a centre-back, it gives everybody a boost. It allows, as I said, to bolster up our midfield with Henderson, THIAGO, Andorra, Wijnaldum, Keita, Shaqiri, whoever's fit. If we don't, I just think the mood of the fans will be affected. And look, I think Liverpool have got a good chance to go on and win this league. We've got a lot of positives. Jota to come back, THIAGO to be in the side now. Let's kick on. Let's give everybody a boost. Go and get a centre back in and real push City all the way.
Kev O'Sullivan saying, are you trying to tell me that we can't borrow to invest in a player whose value will almost definitely increase? But Kev, it's about getting the right player. I think they can get a player in, but if Liverpool, for example, have their eyes on a big centre back in the summer, right? Virgil van Dijk, let's say the talk of Virgil van Dijk coming back in March is correct. Liverpool will probably happily go with what they have until they can get Van Dijk back, because they'll want to do the big one in the summer. They don't, one thing we've learned about Klopp and Michael Edwards is they don't deviate from the plan too much very often. You know what I mean? They'll do something. Now, I think this is an emergency. I think this is a break glass job now. I think they have to do something. But it wouldn't surprise me if they don't.
It's a strange one. They're stubborn, mate, and they've proven that in the past. If they and Klopp is the perfect manager for FSG in the fact that he will just not do as he's told, but he's quite happy to put his faith in young players. You know what I mean? He's shown that many times before. If there's a chance to get a deal done, I'd be confident. But at the same time, I don't think we're going to be bullied into paying over the odds. There's a couple of questions or a couple of points in the chat there. So Nay has said and Matt Johnson have said, do I not think Manchester United are in the running for the title? Because obviously I keep mentioning City. My honest opinion is Manchester United have done fantastic to be where they are. I think they have done that for a mixture of reasons. I think they get through games through the individual talents that they have. So the likes of Bruno Fernandes, I think, has been a huge talent and an uplift for the whole club. And he's dragged them through some games. I think they are winning matches by a little break of luck here or there, penalties, deflections. I don't think they're winning football matches because of the tactical nous of their manager. I think when it really matters and they've got to cup semi-finals or the Champions Leagues, he's shit their pants and he's been exposed tactically. I don't think Manchester United's form is sustainable over the course of the season. So my honest opinion is I think Manchester United are the best of the rest. In my honest opinion, I think there might be a bit of a gap between third and fourth. But my personal opinion is I see it as a 2-horse race between Liverpool and City.
Yeah, I think it's a case of, United are where they are because Liverpool are sort of on their arse, and Man City have had a slower start and are starting to come back into it. But Matt, I'll give you a thing. So we're going to talk now about the season expectations for the second half of the season. Do you see Spurs getting into the mix there, into that sort of top 4, or, can they get into third? What do you expect from Spurs for the second half of the season?
It's really a difficult one because people always make the point that we're relying so heavily on Harry Kane and Heung-min Son. It's just not sustainable. Now, I would argue the same arguments should be made with regards to Man United and Bruno Fernandes, but with Spurs, you never know what you're going to get until about like 5-10 minutes into a game. You can usually tell what it's going to be like, and it's in the past, it's been the games against the big six teams that have really let us down, and we've been picking up points against the stragglers at the bottom of the table. But that seems to have flipped now, with us like dropping stupid points against the likes of Crystal Palace, against Newcastle, and Fulham tomorrow night. It's a game we think we should win, but we might not. And now we're picking up the 6-1 win at United, the win against City, wins against Arsenal as well. Those are the kind of games that we're winning now, and it's kind of for that reason it's hard to judge where we are, because we just do not know what to expect, and we're just such a different team to what we were under Pochettino. And I said after the game against Everton, the first game of the season, we lost 1-0 to Everton. I said I'd take top 6 because things will quickly turn sour under Mourinho if this is going to the season we're looking at. And then we went out and we beat Southampton 5-2, who had a fantastic start. We beat United 6-1. We got into that period then after the last international break. We had 7 games coming up, which were City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Palace, Leicester, Wolves and Liverpool, which is an incredibly daunting 7. And I said, if we come out of that anywhere near the top of the table, I think we can win the league this season. I think we will win the league this season if we get through that period. And it started really well, but then we played Palace, then we played Liverpool, then we played Leicester, and things really fell apart. And I think we're very lucky now that we're in at this stage of the season, haven't had what I hope is our bad patch of the season, and we're still only 7 points off the top of the table now with that game and Manchester United. We're still in the mix, and that's really important for us having coming out of that really difficult period. But it's strange this season that the congested period, which is usually the festive period for Spurs, is the next couple of months, because we had our Christmas Eve game or our New Year's Eve game called off. We had a few other things moved around in there as well. So it's going to be really interesting to see how we actually fare once it gets to, we have a period before the Carabao Cup final. We could potentially have an FA Cup semi-final on the Sunday, a league game on the Tuesday, and a Europa League semi-final on the Thursday, and then the Carabao Cup game on Sunday, which is absolutely bizarre. It should never be allowed to happen, but it's that I think will really come down and be the difference for Tottenham this season. And when you're thinking of that, I think our squad depth is the most important thing. And I said it earlier in the season, I thought Tottenham had the best squad depth in the league, but then those kind of fringe players started getting on the pitch, and I realised we're in a lot of trouble. So I think, like I said league earlier in the season, I'm going to say top 4 now as a hope and as an expectation, because look, the teams around us it's been a while since we've had a league where the teams around have been such a poor standard. Look at Arsenal, which is extremely funny, struggling to get into the top half of the table, and the likes of Liverpool, of course, not at their best. City started slowly. United, although they are top of the table, they don't seem like a title winning team. So I think because of the lack of quality in the teams around us, I think is our biggest chance to get something this season. And I can see us winning it. I think we'll win the Carabao Cup. I think we can beat City in that one. Maybe a Europa League as well, and top 4.
That's where I was going to come to. The chance of winning cups at Spurs. There is a chance there. You go out and you play Man City. Anything can happen in that. It's in April, isn't it? They've pushed that back. But Jose will not. He'll take that Europa League seriously as well, because he done it at Man U, he done it at Porto. He's won that cup before, and he knows a run in Europe is a run in Europe, whether it's the Champions League or the Europa League. Could that impact us as the season goes on, do you think?
Yeah, no, I definitely think it can, because you're looking at every other manager rotates a bit in the cup. And look, I know Jose did that, but if that's the strength of the team he's playing against Marine in what was the biggest mismatch in FA Cup history, you'd be a bit concerned what he play in the 5th round if we do end up facing Everton then. And the fatigue will start coming into things. And it's been a massive debate in the Spurs fan base over the last couple of years. Would you rather win the FA Cup or get into the top 4? And in the past, it's always been getting into the top 4. A trophy would be great, but with Pochettino, it was a project, and we were building something. And the thing you need to help build you a team is the attraction of Champions League football. So it was always, let's get into that top 4 and build from there. But now we're in a situation where Jose Mourinho's a short-term manager. No Spurs fan is going to try and tell you otherwise. We have him in for the now. We want trophies now. We want success now. I don't care about 5 years' time. We want to reap the benefits of having this man at our club. And then all of a sudden you think, well, an FA Cup is probably better than a top 4. Because look, we have the pull factor for players. We saw that in the summer with Reguilon choosing Spurs and managing to get Gareth Bale back as well. The likes of Jose and, of course, the stadium and the facilities that we have will attract these really big players. But when we're in the situation where we just want success now, it's the FA Cup that I prefer. It's the Europa League that I prefer. Of course, I'd love to be in the Champions League. I'd love to finish in that top 4. But in terms of the benefits that we want from Jose's time at the club, we need to end that trophy drought. And if Champions League is what we have to sacrifice, as difficult as it is to say, I'd rather win an FA Cup or Europa League than finish.
In the Europa League, you get into the Champions League, and anyway, don't you? So
that is the other hand, the other side of it as well.
That little carrot there to go for. Joe, Leeds, second half of the season. I know we touched on it earlier. You can see them sort of staying around where they are or pushing up, between that sort of 12th, 10th. Do you think there's going to be any worries with your squad in the second half of the season, or can you see them last? And a lot of people criticise, they won't last the pace, And I know I've been on your show and you said, but we played 46 games in the championship. Now, the level is a bit higher and it's that little bit quicker. Even as Jamie was saying with Marine and Spurs, championship, the Premier League, there's no, the intensity is that little bit higher. Can you see fatigue kicking in on Leeds, or do you think you're not worried? It's just a case of the quality is just a little bit short.
I'm not worried about that. It's a media narrative that's been around Leeds United and Bielsa for a very long time, this whole chat of burnout. We had someone telling us that we got promoted because of COVID the other week. Do you know what I mean? So it's, it's always been around. But no, look, we've, like I said to you, Keith, we played 46 games last season and the season before, throwing in the cups there as well. We're obviously now out of the cups. So no, I think we'll be all right. I know people laugh at me, but I still think we'll have we're in with the shout of Europa League, man. I know people will laugh at me, man. I do think we'll miss out. But I think we'll do all right over the course of the season. Not really. That's the thing about us being out of the cup now. It's like, I guess for the last 2 seasons, obviously we've been chasing that dream of getting back into the Premier League, and it's all like boom. But now that the cup's gone for us, it's like, do you know what I mean? I know it's like 16 years back, but it's been a long time. But yeah, it's a bit meh. You know what I mean? Is that what I don't want to have to accept that as a Leeds United fan, and we're a big club in my opinion, and that's why with Bielsa and the current management team we will get stronger and we will progress, and it won't be long before we are back in Europe. I genuinely believe that. Obviously, it might not be this season, but that'll happen, because we are a big club, and then I would never want to accept that, that like, oh, we're all right, being say a Burnley or a Palace or whatever, not really going anywhere, and I think Leeds will progress. But as for just my opinion on the whole, like Matt there, I think Tottenham will get silverware. I think they will get top 4 this season. Definitely, I think they will finish 4th. I think that might go to that team across the Pennines, unfortunately, but they definitely won't win the league. This chat of them, are we in the title race? And at the top of the league, I guess you could say they are, but they're not really. I agree with Jamie. Like, he's been found wanting in all the big games. He's got to 4 semi-finals now and lost them all. Yeah. There's obviously a reason for that. That's
more than Fergie. Sorry, that 4 semi-finals is more than Fergie lost in his entire time at Man United. Yeah.
There you go. And I think the thing is with Ollie, whenever he has to take the impetus, when he has to take control and he has to go at teams, he's found wanting. He doesn't know what to do. You know what I mean? He struggles to break teams down. I think, like when Leeds, for example, are going at them, then it's easy. The quality will tell over 90 minutes. They've got some blistering pace on the counter, but I think he's found wanting. I do think personally, the favourites are now City currently, as we are. And if they were to go out in January, I don't think they will, but if they were to go out and spend big on a striker, then you'd have to be even more worried. Do you know what I mean? But maybe they wait for the summer for that. Maybe they're looking at Haaland. I don't know. That'd be some.
Maybe they're going to announce Leo Messi on a pre-contract for the summer, and that gives them a big boost. And Sergio Aguero signs a new deal, and the whole place gets a big lift. I think that's what could happen at City, but who knows? Joe, before we wrap that up, I want to give you a little chat about Frank Lampard.
Yes.
He's not having the best of times, is he, at the moment?
No, mate. No, yeah, I would have got round to him somehow. I've seen the latest news yesterday that Avram Grant's coming.
I've seen that.
Avram Grant's coming in to help him on his coaching staff. When Avram Grant walks through that door at Chelsea, you know your time's up, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? You do. Imagine him just stood there like that, like Jabba the Hutt, just watching training, thinking, when you going, Frank, man, I'm stepping in here. That's all that is, man.
It's a recipe for disaster, that isn't it?
All that is Abramovich saying, when Frank goes, Grant can take over till end of season, and then I can go to my main man. That is all it is. Frank's on borrowed time. I've been saying it for a long time. Again, like Solskjaer, they're just not there, man. They're just not there, but they keep getting these results. But look, I've seen him in the Championship. Yeah, he can play some pretty, football sometimes going forward, but nah, he'll be found wanting, and he has been found wanting. I mean, what? They've only beat West Ham in the top half of the table. I think that's the only team they've managed to beat in the top half of the table. He's just absolutely gash. And I think the funny thing is, where does he go from now? Where does he go from Chelsea? Yeah. He's got this such high opinion of himself, this entitled man, born with a silver spoon in his mouth. Where's he going to go? He's going to end up having to rock up at Brighton or something after Graham Potter's sacked in. And I can't wait for that, man, to be fair. It's brilliant, man.
It's a good point. It's a sense of entitlement. It's similar. It reminds me to Ryan Giggs. Ryan Giggs always felt that he should have got the Man U job, And it's like, I know they give it to Solskjaer now, but at least he coached over in Norway. But it was
just compare Lampard and Stevie G.
Yeah.
Look what Stevie. I know Scotland's a totally different kettle of fish, but he's not only winning the league, he's got them going well in Europe, which is a tough task, man, for any Scottish team, to be fair.
Yeah.
And I know Leeds United are big fans of Steven Gerrard. I keep mentioning it, and people saying, "Oh, he's going to get the Liverpool job and that," but I don't see him being able to just shoe on straight into a Premier League winning side. I don't think Liverpool will probably take that jump, because you could end up with another Ollie, Lampard, Arteta situation. That's the truth. So I think it is a case of, I know Leeds are big fans of him anyway. I just don't think he'll be at Rangers long enough for us to be able to get him after Bielsa. I think after this season, context Stevie G.
That's what I was going to say to you. Is the Leeds job going to be available? Bielsa has a history of just sort of coming out of the blue and saying, "Look, I'm out here. I've done what I can do. I'm gone." It could be available before the Liverpool job, and maybe that's the sort of thing for Gerrard to do. Well, I agree with you. Like, some people say, Rangers, it's a 2-horse race. Celtic have won 9 leagues in a row, 3 trebles or something, or 4 trebles in a row, something ridiculous like that. To break that monopoly when they're going for the record 10th, it's a huge scalp for him. And as you said, he's doing it in Europe as well, which is the thing that he can sort of dangle and say, well, look, Scotland.
He's playing good stuff as well, man. He's been playing some good stuff.
I think that's the big thing. When you look at these managers and you look at Lampard, I always judge a good manager, coach, whatever you want to call it now, is what players have progressed under that coach. That's why I always look at Klopp and I go, the way that he's been able to bring on certain players, and if you look at Frank Lampard, he has been given a war chest, and it's embarrassing the riches that he's had thrown his way. And pretty much all of the players that came in who had huge reputations across Europe have all regressed. Every single one of them regressed, so much so they don't even seem to be playing in their natural positions now. It's a shit show. Whereas if you compare that to Gerrard, yes, in arguably a weaker league, structurally, Rangers are so well set up. They hardly concede any goals. And this isn't just a quality of the Scottish League. They're doing the same thing in Europe. And what I would say about Gerrard in direct comparison to Lampard, because everybody always likes to compare him for whatever reason. It's always the way. But Steven Gerrard's ego, he's already said he's learning a new craft. Steven Gerrard, the player, doesn't exist anymore. Let me go away and earn my stripes. And I don't think for 1 second Steven Gerrard would take the Liverpool job next. I think he would go away and take another job, whether that be at a top European side, for example, or come to the Premier League, the likes of a Leeds, for example, someone that have they're ambitious, huge history, fantastic fan base. That's one thing, Joe, you never mentioned before, actually, just on the Leeds piece. They're playing in front of no fans. Yeah. And I know from experience now, don't get me wrong, it's playing in front of 4,000 people instead of 60,000. But when you're playing and the ground is hopping, your concentration levels are so much higher because the stakes are higher. You don't want to make a mistake. You know what I mean? You're constantly on edge. Your head's on it, turning. You're playing with more intensity. It would be so hard for this Leeds team to come into the Premier League and play against these top sides where, if they have one momentary lapse in concentration, which would be forgiven in this kind of dull, dead atmosphere, that's one thing that hasn't really been spoken about. I think Leeds, with a full packed Ellen Road, would be a completely different proposition, especially the way Bielsa has you playing, high intensity, chasing, harrying. So that's one thing I think, if you just see this season out, solid mid-table, upper half finish, and then hopefully when things come back to normal next season, I think you'll be in a good spot. But I'd like to see Gerrard get a crack at somebody, as I said, top side in Europe, maybe like a Dortmund or someone of the, I've got some like that in my head, or an ambitious Premier League side.
Very true, very true. Well, it's a good point, because Liverpool and Leeds are two of the teams that are missing out on the lack of crowds. And Matt, would you feel Spurs are missing out, or do you think?
And Sheffield United, by the way, who finally won a game, They won.
I was shocked to see that. But Matt, how do you feel the Spurs fans would be taken like to Mourinho? Do you think it's suiting Mourinho not to have fans there? If Spurs aren't playing bad, but Mourinho doesn't play attractive football, and I know there's the Spurs way and all that. Do you think it's benefiting Mourinho maybe not having a crowd there that Spurs can get on with their business?
It is, and look, it's weird to say. We had fans in the ground for I think it was 2 games, but one of them was the Arsenal game, and we didn't park the bus. We played defensive football as we have done for the majority of the season, and I think the fans didn't really get on the team's back at any stage, because they were just happy to be back in the ground, and also we got that early goal, and we were always in control of that. But Spurs Twitter is a very toxic place when Spurs don't win. The same people who are coming out and saying, Jose, it's a masterclass from him, he's a footballing genius when we beat City 2-0 playing defensive football, are the same ones who were saying, this isn't my club, I don't want to see this football, when it was Liverpool who got a last minute winner against us. So and look, people always said it about United. I'm not going to deny it. The style of football is okay when you're winning, but when you're not, it gets a bit frustrating. But I think regardless of whether it's frustrating you or if it's bringing you joy, I think you have to find your own opinion on it, and you have to stick with that and say, you either have to trust what he's doing and trust that he knows this is what will bring success, or not do it. And the fans are just so on the fence with this at the moment, and it depends on what's going on in terms of results, if we're lucky, if we're unlucky. So I think because of that, we are in one way lucky that there are no fans there, because Jose can get on with what he wants to do, and maybe we'll have a trophy in there when fans get back in, or maybe we'll have kind of perfected that style of football. But on the flip side, Jose has often said he's tried to get the team to play more attacking football, but they've been reluctant to do so. They haven't been able to get a hold of games in order to do that. And maybe fans on their backs in a stadium could allow us to get out better. Maybe we would have beaten West Ham, could have beaten Newcastle, could have beaten Palace, whatever it was. But I think from a Jose point of view, he may be slightly lucky that there's no fans there to be screaming at him at the ground.
Yeah, it's very true. It's interesting, that dynamic of what can happen. Before we finish up, Jason Leonard is thrown in. Have we not seen his comments? Jason, if you're new to the show, you might learn when I host, I do be that engrossed in the sort of the on-screen chat that the group chat to sort of fly by. So you could have been lashing in comments and they just going by and I'm not seeing them. So apologies. We try and throw as many up as we can, but thanks for joining us. And anyway, lads, thanks for coming on tonight. It's been a nice little chat. There's a midweek fix, but we're not really talking about the football for the here and now, more just a generic overview. So Matt, listen, thanks very much for coming on, and I'd love to wish you the best of luck for the rest of the season, but I don't like Jose, so I'm not going to.
Fully understand.
Good luck to you on your channel. I'll wish you that. I'll do that for you.
Thanks very much, Keith. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. I'm in the live chat here when I'm not on the panel.
Yeah, exactly. Welcome. Really enjoy it. More regular, 100%. Joe, always a pleasure to have you on here. Like I said, you're nearly like a day tripper these days yourself.
No, I feel bad for criticising Liverpool these days. I'm like, oh God, they won't be happy with us.
Oh, you stick to your guns. We don't want any of that pandering in here. You know what I mean? We're not about that. And Jamie, people forget that you have your own pod as well, Jamie. So have you any boot room stuff coming up soon?
Yeah, but finally, so the other two contributors, one's working in America and he's absolutely mad busy last couple of months, so we haven't been able to get any out, but there's been talks in the background of hopefully getting a couple of podcasts over the next few weeks, so fingers crossed. We should be able to get some out soon. Yeah,
so look at just anyone in the chat, like these are three of the best sort of channels and podcasts apart from ours, but if you don't subscribe and listen, tune in, because the stuff these lads put out is absolutely top shelf. So look,
predictions, we need to do predictions for the United game. Everyone's been asking us in the chat there.
Let's do it. Sorry lads, you're going to have to give predictions for the United game as well. I'm not even going to insult you with our predictions. We will. Joe, Leeds home to Brighton, who's winning?
Oh, Leeds. Brighton have got Connolly, Welbeck, Lamptey, Lallana, Ben White all out injured. I can't see past the Leeds United win, especially after the resting in the cup. Yeah. I think we'll win comfortably. I'm going to go 3-0.
Good man, good man. And Matt, who view's got? You have Fulham tomorrow. Pain in the arse for Scott Parker. I only got told yesterday or something about this game.
Yeah, that helps us out a lot. We Fulham tomorrow, then with Sheffield United away on Sunday, so 2 games against
good fixtures for us. Yeah.
Look, it should be, but we are Spurs at the end of the day.
Spurs, won't they?
Yeah, some things never change. Look, I think we should be Fulham, and if not, questions would have to be asked. So I'd say 2-0, probably Kane and Son on the score sheet. And can I just say as well, I'm actually loving Joe. You're on here, but he still managed to tweet out United abuse.
Yeah. Someone just reminded me, someone reminded me Scum's last 6 wins: West Ham, Sheffield United, Leeds, Wolves, Villa, Burnley. It's no speciality, really.
But no, you win who's in front of you, but when you dig into these things, there's always a reason. Now, Jamie, the big one, Liverpool Man U at Anfield. What's going on?
I think the first things first is Liverpool fans need to hold the nerve a little bit. Everyone seems a little bit nervous. It's like this: the last 2 years have meant nothing to a lot of football fans. Liverpool's performance this year is littered with context, and all of a sudden, Liverpool fans are throwing in the title. It's City's, it's United's. This United team aren't what they're cracked up to be. My honest opinion is this game on Sunday, I think Liverpool will win. Don't get me wrong, it could be tricky. I think United will come in and look to play on the counter. I don't think they're good enough to dominate the ball against Liverpool, and I think it would be silly of them to try and do so and come at us. I think they'll sit with a low block. I think they'll look to go direct in the right-hand channel to try and exploit the space between Trent and, let's be honest, it's probably going to be Reece Williams. I think that will be the way home for them. My honest opinion is I think that Liverpool will have too much for them. I want to see Liverpool fans have a bit more belief in the team. It's a good, as I think I sent it in a WhatsApp group today. It was a good job we won the league by so many points last year, because it seems like a lot of Liverpool fans don't have a stomach for the fight. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So look, it's going to be a proper title race, but Liverpool are bang in it. So let's get behind the team, a little bit of belief, and trust the players that have delivered over a long period of time. If our front three are able to get back into a rhythm, they've not been quite at it, and we've probably never seen that before, Keith. You know, that we've always been able to rely on one or two of them playing well, and if one of them has an off day, if we can get them back to any type of rhythm, a couple of goals from Mane helped there in the week, and we've got Jota to come back in, who was an absolute revelation earlier in the season. He should be back in the next couple of weeks. Liverpool are going to be set up for a proper title push. So Liverpool fans just have a bit more belief.
Exactly. So what score are you going for, Jamie?
I didn't even, after all that shite, I didn't even give a prediction, did I? It was a rallying call without a prediction. Okay, I'm going to go 2-0 to Liverpool.
Yeah, I think 2-0 as well. I think we're gonna beat them as well. And I echo everything you've said there, Jamie. A lot of people don't have the stomach for it and are cracking themselves about Man United. Man United could win. Who knows? It's a game of football. Anyone can win a game. But a bit of faith in Liverpool wouldn't go stray from Liverpool fans. But look, we'll leave it there. I'm taking up too much of that time now, gents. Thanks very much for coming on and joining me tonight, boys. And thanks to everybody in the chat. Remember, this show is brought by Football Prizes. Get on. Jordan Henderson signed and framed shirt. Excellent prize. Get on and have a go at that. Sign up and subscribe to the lads' shows as well. And as I said, great content, great stuff. And we leave it at that. So look, this has been the Midweek Fix. Over and out.